Mm. 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 All right. Yeah. This week has gone by really, really quickly. Flying. Here we are. All right, everyone. Let's begin our Torah portion. All right. So this week, the focus for us is going to be on the tribes. Okay. It's going to be on the tribes. It's called Matoth. Okay. Let me see if I can get this to work. Okay, I guess that doesn't want to cooperate. That's fine. Here you go. Hamatoth. Okay. Ha meaning they, and Matoth are tribes. Okay. We already know how many tribes there are. And so it says in Waidober Moshe El Rashi, he spoke to the heads of the tribes of concerning the sons of Israel. Okay. This is who he's talking to. Moshe is talking directly to the heads of the tribes, okay, of the sons of Israel. And he's telling them something, okay? He's telling them that this is the thing. Now you see that there is a definite article that on there, which is the. This is the thing. This is the Zeh Hadavar. This is the thing, or this is the word, okay, in which commanded Yahweh. Okay, so he's letting them know this is what Yahweh is saying to you. Now we got to keep in mind that Moshe is about to he's about to give up his life. You know, he's about to go up on the mountain and he's going to die, which we talked about that. That's coming up soon, which in the book of Deuteronomy is just the one day. So now things are beginning to, close up, right? So when we talk about these tribes, the first thing that he wants to talk to them about is something very interesting. Okay. When I first read this, I thought, well, surely he's just talking to, when I was inexperienced in the Torah, I would thought that, he was just talking to the women about their role and how they would speak words and how they had to be responsible to, for their words. And the one who was overseeing them was their husband. Okay. And so the husband is the overseer of the words in which the wife, especially when it comes to a vow that she's making. Okay. But there's one part that I think we miss, and that is that this rule, or this in particular command that the Most High is giving to Moshe to tell the children of Israel, has to begin with the men first. It's not necessarily going to just begin with the women. Okay. Is actually going to begin with the man. And what I mean by that, everyone, is that the first part of this command that he's given to the sons of Israel, or to the leaders, for them to tell the children of Israel, the people in their households, okay, and talking to their tribes. So in each one of these tribes, there's a leader, and he is responsible for disseminating the information. If you notice, the way that the Most High is dealing with the children of Israel is through an idea of leadership. Okay. So even in that leadership, these leaders, the Rashi, the heads of the tribes, are to go, and they're responsible for telling their tribe, I need to tell my tribe what's the business. I got to give them the business over what we have to do. Okay. Now, the importance of this is because if I don't communicate to my tribe, and I'll just say my tribe, okay, if I don't say something to my tribe is going to suffer. Previously in our teachings, and I mentioned it on Shabbat, the Most High is talking about bringing these children into their inheritance. Okay, so what happened to the first generation that wouldn't listen to the Most High?
They died out.
Y'all made sure when he took that census that they all died out, right? Now, since they died out, just an estimate, do you guys remember how many people died besides them? Let's just say this way. Thousands of people have died, okay? Right? So it's not just the people that he commissioned to die because they wouldn't go into the land, but there's been a lot of death. And this is the reason why the Most High did a census. And this is, if you notice, the census was after they did that Baal Peor thing where they went to that festival, okay? But also, too, a great deal of the leadership of the tribes, they suffered. Remember, he said when he came back, he said, hang all the leaders, right? And so now what he's trying to do is he's trying to re-establish them with this idea that if you don't do what I'm telling you, then your tribe is the one that's going to suffer. I told you before that, we have the East, the West, the North and the South. And in each one of these areas, you have some tribes that were hanging out down here, Reuven and Shimon and Gad. And over here is Yehuda, Yizakar and Zebulun. And up here is Dan, Naphtali, and Asher. And over here is MBE, which is Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. They suffered. Okay. More specifically, the southern tribes lost. They lost a lot of people. And so did this group. They lost too. The one who did really well was this over here in Ephraim, which goes with his name, to be fruitful, right? But the reason why they suffered, everyone, is simply because of the leadership. They weren't conveying the messages, okay? And they were doing a lot of talking. So what the Most High did is he cleaned house and said, okay, I'm done. All right, I want to get rid of it now. As a result of more people dying in this tribe, right? And there's more people on this one and a little bit more over here. What did the Most High tell Moses and Yehoshua about the division of the land? Do you remember? He told Moshe, when you do this census, I want to find out how many people, how many was the register, how many, right? And whoever is much, they would get what? How much land?
They would get a bigger part.
They get more land. And whoever's less, then they get less land. Forgive the pen, okay? You get the idea. So the reason this happened is because the people who are not listening and not following the instructions are the ones who suffer the most. And as a result, they got less land. So whoever does bad things, they're going to get less of this. They're going to get less of the inheritance. And overall, if you don't listen, you're going to get you won't even be there. Yah's not going to even let you see it. Like he did with Moshe, Aharon, and Miriam, and the other people of that generation. So the only two from that previous generation that went in was Yehoshua and Caleb. Those are the only two. So you may ask yourself, well, what's the importance of the less land versus the more land, right? What does it have to do? It has to do with their inheritance, okay? So it's important for these tribes to convey this message. And so the first thing that the Most High is reminding the children of Israel about is to tell them, if a man makes a vow to Yahweh or swears an oath to bind to some agreement on his soul, okay? This is on his soul. That's upon his soul, okay? Then he shall not break his word. He shall not call his word. He shall not break it. If he breaks his word, then there's going to be consequences. Okay. So often when I read this before, we're focusing on the women, and that's not right. We have to focus on what the man is doing, because the man is the one who has to answer. He's going to make his vow directly to the Most High. Okay. And so for him, if he says anything, he swears anything, or he makes a vow to the Most High, and he says he's going to do something, once he speaks it on anything, there is no way for him to get out of what he said. There's no way that a man can get out of anything that he says before the Most High. And I want you sisters to really listen to what I'm about to tell you. Often we hear about how our women feel like they're being disenfranchised and like they're not being accepted, and they feel like their roles are, beneath the man and so forth and so on. But they really need to start looking at this in a different manner. Okay. Men have to answer directly to Yah. The women, right? They have to answer to their husbands. The daughters, they're going to have to answer to their fathers. Okay. Meaning that the husband is there the men are there to protect these individuals. We don't have any protection. If we say something to the Most High, men, if you're listening to me, there's nobody that can say that what you said was wrong, and somebody can step in on your behalf and make any excuses. There's nobody that will be a covering for you where you could be protected against something you said. If you let anything come out your mouth, Yah is going to hold you directly to what you said. And there's no way out. That's what you will call dangerous. Okay. And so when it talks about this, the vow, it's in a shavua, right? And swears something. What a man is literally doing, okay, and I'm going to get to the women in a minute. He's literally sevening himself. That means that he's made 7 declarations. He can say this 7 times, or he can do something 7 times, or he can present something 7 times, like 7 lambs, like they would do, like Abraham did. He has 7 lambs, and King Abimelech asked him, what are these? These are the oath. Okay, you can say something, or you can do something 7 times, and that will lock you in. You understand? So it's about what we say, and it's also what we do. Okay? Because what you say, the Most High says, whatever you say as a man, you're going to do what you said you're going to do. Okay? Going back to the initial covenant that you and I are under to this day, that he says, I'm going to hold you to what you said to me. So this week is about not just the tribes, it's about the consequences of the actions of the people, the leadership of those tribes. Our families will suffer if we say or do anything that we should not be doing. So, I want to make that clear as the children of Israel and as the sons of Israel, that we have a greater responsibility than the women, in which are the daughters of the Most High. At least they have what they would call a buffer, which we're going to read here. But I want to explain something too about this. This oath, of course, has to do with 7, like I mentioned, and that talks about Yah's days, right? Yah did something 7 days. Okay, and on the 7th day, Yah says that that's the day of the Shabbat. So really what the Shabbat is an oath. Woo! You got to get cleansed on the 3rd and the 7th day. After 7 days, you'll be clean, right? So that's what Yah says. Now, here's this idea of binding, okay? What does it mean to bind yourself to an agreement? What it's literally talking about is that one is tying themselves, okay? They're tying themselves, and what you're using is like you tying you're tying a cord, or you're putting yourself in some type of chain. You're binding yourself, right? But here's the thing is you're binding your soul. Okay, so this is not just we get to say anything we want. It's literally like you're going to prison. That's what this word right here has to do with, like binding a prisoner. So what you're really doing is you're putting yourself in custody of the words that you swore and that you said that came out of your mouth. And the trippy part is that when you speak and when Yah's people are speaking, this is what you and I need to understand. Men, women, listen, because you're next. whatever you and I say, because we belong to Yah, Yah says, I'm going to hold you accountable to it. And especially if you said a promise to me and you made a promise to me, I'm going to hold you to what you said. And it's your words that are going to tie your soul to what you said, to your promise. And the reason why the Most High is very severe on this is simply because when he spoke, what he did is he bound himself through his oath. Yah is bound by his word. So now he's trying to get his people to understand when you talk, you don't just be talking to be talking. When you're talking, your words have to be substantial and they have to have significance. And they have to be not just laced with truth, but they have to be true. Because all you have with Yah is your words, which will be manifested by your deeds, which we're going to get into later on this week. So that's what we're binding ourselves to. Your soul is being locked down, is being bound. And he says that you should not break it. You can't break your word. If you're Israel and you're one of the sons of Israel, you cannot break your word, not to the Most High. Everything, he says, kokol dehog yotze, that comes out your mouth, you shall do. Okay? Just like he talks about to proceed out, you know, this word right here has to come, it has to deal with your bodily function and what comes out of your body. So what we understand is that our words, they have substance. So we can't just be saying stuff and not expect to be able to follow through what will we say. Praise the mighty Yah. Yah saying that what you say, okay, I want some follow through. I don't need a follow up. I need you to follow through with what you say. That's what I want. Because you have to be different, because I'm different. And you're a set apart people. So does Yah say stuff just to be saying it? He's telling us how serious he is about his word, and he's telling us that we have to be serious about our word. Okay. Verse number 3. A woman, and that's that wall right there. And it's not if. I don't like this word if, because that's not a true, it is a conjunction, but it's not the one that's supposed to be used here. It's not if, it's when. When a woman, why Isha, she tidor, okay, that means that she right here, she makes a vow, an adair to Yahweh, okay, and she binds herself to Asura. She shall Isor what? She has to bind herself, okay, she's going to bind herself. Now listen carefully what I'm saying. Check out what I'm about to tell you. We think that Yah saying, like, if you just made a vow to him, right, to Yahweh, anything that Yah's people do are as a reflection of Yah. You see? So even if you make a vow to anybody, listen, you make a vow to do something, you're bound by what you say you're going to do. It's because we're Yah's people, everything that we say has to be remembered that you and I are the people of the Most High. So what he's saying is, I want you to check what you're saying. I want you to check your promises. I want you to check these things, because there's no way a religious person will look at this and say, well, I only made that vow to Yah, I didn't make it to you, so it doesn't count. It does count. Every word that comes out of our mouth, every promise that comes out of our mouth is to Yahweh. You better hear what I'm telling you today. If he says that if I did something against you, like we read, right? Let me pull it up right quick just to remind us, just so I can give you context, so we won't become a religious people, right? We don't want to be religious. We don't want that, because it's not going to be good for us. The Most High tells us something, and we read it before, but I just want to give it to you right quick. Okay. It's in the book of Numbers, and it's chapter number 5. Okay. This is when we were in the wilderness, this is what he told us. Most High says this. Verse number 6, tell the people, the sons of Israel, Bnei Yisrael, when a man or a woman commits any kind of sin, okay, that means that you're missing the mark, whether that's a vow, a promise, a business dealing, something you said against another person, and thus breaks faith with Yahweh, he incurs guilt. That sums it all up. So Yah's looking for us to be not only faithful to him, but you and I must be faithful to one another. Okay. And anytime that we say something to one another and we don't follow through, then what we're doing is we're not being honest. Okay. Which brings me to this idea of what I looked up this word today called pretense. Okay. It means an attempt to make something that is not the case appear to be true. You see, it's all make believe. It's a sham. You're saying something, but you have no intention of following through what you said. And that's what we're getting at. Okay. And so this agreement, she has to make this agreement. He says, but why she's in the house of her father in her youth? Okay. Meaning she's a young woman. She's still in the house of her father. He says that, and the father hears it. He hears the vow that she made and the agreement and what she bound to her soul. Right. And he holds his peace. That means he goes silent. He doesn't say anything. You can't hear, he doesn't say a word. He heard it, but he just goes silent. He doesn't say anything, right? To her father, right? He holds his peace to her father, then she'll stand. This is what's going to stand. All then what she spoke is going to stand. That means that she's going to have to carry out exactly everything she said. Now, in context, all the vows that she said, because what she did was she tied her soul to it. So the Most High is holding her responsible, right? It says, but if he, right? But her father has an option. The father, her Avihai, he can do this. He can Haney, okay? And Haney basically means that he can withdraw it. He can overrule it. He can refrain that from happening. He can hold back. That's what that means. He can hold back her words and say, no, I'm not going to let you do that. Okay. That's what he could say. No, I'm not going to let you do that. On the day, it has to be in the day that he hears it. Right. And that's in the Yom. He got to hear it. And then he says, then any of the vows that on her agreement, which she had bound upon her soul, because that's her nafsha, he said that he can restrain those things from happening. And this is for a daughter who's in the house of her father. And then he says, not shall it stand. And Yahweh will release her, meaning Yahweh will, this word yishlak or yishlak means to forgive. So it's not just release. In a sense, they're saying release because it has to do with her binding herself with her words. So the Most High is going to release those words, and he's going to forgive, and he's going to give her a pardon, because that's what shalak means. You know, you've heard me say shalak as a word to mean send away. So this one here is like a cognate word. It shares almost the same meaning. And we're going to look at that right quick. So what it is that the father can be the one to go and say, no, I'm not going to allow that to happen. And because she did say it, it doesn't mean that she's not accountable for her words, but it means that the Most High said that I'm going to send it. I'm going to pardon her. See that? I'm going to forgive her. It's not just release her. I'm going to give her a pardon. So when a person doesn't keep their word, that they say they're going to do, then it's a crime against the Most High. Okay. So this word of shalak means to forgive, and it means to send away. Now, let me ask you a question now. Did the Most High say anything about a man being able to receive shalak?
No.
No. The man doesn't get the shalak. The man doesn't have somebody to stand in on his behalf and judge what we say. See, this is not a power move to say how much more powerful the man is than the woman. We could look at it like that, right? But Yah is not trying to get us to look at it like that. What he's trying to get us to look at is saying, hey, when a man speaks, he doesn't have any mediator whatsoever. There's nobody to stand in the gap and to judge and to weigh out what's said and consider it. The man has literally, if he hears it, he can literally wait and he can ponder and he can think about it. And he can, he can examine what she said. And it gives him time to do that. But when the man speaks, the Yah is telling him, if you just open your mouth and you're just talking to be talking, and you're speaking, you're a fool because you didn't take the time to examine. So what he's saying is that the man has to, and especially leaders, and because you have a leadership role, your job is to examine everything before you even open your mouth. Because if you say something, you're not going to be forgiven. That's not going to happen. It's a crime. You're going to be destroyed. And let me show it to you. Okay. This goes for me too. So we need to take the time to examine what before we say something, or before we make some type of pronouncement, or before we make some type of promise. Yah says you need to consider it, because if you don't consider it, there's nobody for you, okay, to stand up and get in your way and to help you evaluate it. Okay. So in Ecclesiastes, because I don't think we're going to go here on Shabbat, right? I want to talk about this right now. Okay. Listen what it says. It says, watch your step when you go to the house of Elohim. Okay. Offering to listen is better than fools offering sacrifices. And what Shalom was making reference to is that silence for us as men would be better than just running our mouths, because fools do a lot of talking. And so they're offering sacrifices because they have a lot to say. He says, because they don't discern whether or not they're doing what they're doing, okay, or whether or not they're doing evil. So if we do a lot of talking and we don't do a lot of examination, the Most High says you may want to consider what you're doing, because you may be doing evil. You don't even know because you don't have no understanding. Okay. So number 2, don't speak impulsively. Okay. And you said, well, this is just for the men. No, it's for the men, because the men are the ones who are supposed to help govern and teach the women of the family, and let them know. And even if they say something, so he's letting you know off top that sometimes women say stuff, and we're going to read it, that he says that sometimes they just say stuff and they don't even consider it, right? So he's telling us, don't be impulsively, right? Don't speak impulsively. Don't be in a hurry to give voice to your words before Elohim. This is wisdom. For Elohim is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few. Okay, so all the talking before him, and we're thinking he's sitting there and he has a tape recorder and people are just writing down everything we say. Y'all saying to us today, that I'm a king and you can't just come to me and start talking. You just can't. And it's disrespectful for him, because I think what he's saying to us is that don't treat me common or like me and you are friends, because that's not what it is. Don't ever get so comfortable to where you just start saying anything you want to say. I want you to be very mindful about when you're talking to me. And I want you to consider things before you come to me. Before you come to me, I want you to take the time to think. And if you have a situation that you can resolve without talking to me, go resolve it. It's the situations like we saw last week where they didn't have an answer that you would go before the Most High and bring your case to the Most High. So the Most High is asking for us to honor him in the glory of him and the kingship of him by being mindful of who he is. And we can do that through what we say, and we can do that about and what we do. Okay. So, and this is not just a recommendation. This is what it is. Okay. For nightmares come from worrying too much, and a fool, when he speaks, he just chatters too much. So a lot of activity, that's what they're saying. It's just, nightmares come from worrying too much. You got so much on your mind. And a fool, when he speaks, he just chatters. That's all he does. if you make a vow to Elohim, don't delay in discharging it. Meaning you better do what you said, for Elohim takes no pleasure in fools, meaning that you spoke and you weren't able to follow through with it. So go ahead and discharge your vow. It's better not to make a vow than to make a vow and not discharge it. Don't let your words make you guilty, as we've been learning. That there are things that you and I could be saying that Yah says you're guilty. And we've never been taught this. And it's okay, but it doesn't mean that we're not guilty. And it doesn't mean that we've said things to the Most High that he just finds just downright repulsive. Like, don't talk to me about these things. There's certain things that you and I should not talk to the Most High about. Okay? Especially when you want to seek revenge on somebody, you talking to him about this situation you're having with somebody. Don't talk to him about that stuff. You resolve that. You and I are human beings. And our Elohim, in order for him to be glorified and to be put in this high position of honor and respect, you and I are going to have to take a step back, and we're going to have to evaluate and look at things differently. Okay. So verse number 6, don't let your words make you guilty. And don't tell the temple official that you made the vow by mistake. That means you want to go back and retract on your words. And it says, why give Elohim reason to be angry at what you say and destroy what you have accomplished? Which is what I wanted to bring to our attention. Because Yah doesn't change. So when he says to make Yah angry at what you say, right? Remember, that's what it is. Because I said again, it's about what we say and it's about what we do. So the Most High can be very angry with us because of the things that we're saying. The Most High doesn't like the stuff that you and I are saying, okay? Especially when it's not glorifying to him, what you say. Didn't we read earlier this week, I think, or it was our Hebrew class where we talked about, I was going over the different sounds in which the Malachim were making when they were up there speaking before the Most High. It's about what you and I say, just like what they say. Somebody tell me, what does those seraphim say, if you can remember?
What the seraphim say?
Yeah, what are those flying beings saying with their wings across their face? And what are they saying?
They're saying holy, holy, holy.
Yeah, this called do. It's you understand? It's on. Okay. And so Yah will be angry at what we say. And he said he will destroy what we have accomplished. And what you've accomplished is the things that you have done. So it's what you do. Man, this pen is just really disappointing me. All right, so it's what we've accomplished, the things that we have said and the things that we have accomplished. Yah says, I will destroy what you have done with the work of your hands. And the reason why I'm going to destroy it is because you said you made a mistake because you made a promise that you can't keep. Now, just think if Yah was like this. Well, just think if he said things and he wasn't able to keep it. And he's just talking to be talking. He's not. You understand? So this is what happens when there are too many dreams and aimless activities and words. This is wisdom for us. Instead, what does it tell us to do? Just fear Elohim. And that's what Yah is looking for. Fearing Yah is not just being afraid. It's not as if the Most High doesn't want to have a relationship with us, but he does want to have a relationship with us, but it's not going to be on our terms. It's going to be on his terms. Otherwise, he wouldn't be the king. So let's allow him to, show us and teach us, because that's what he's teaching us. And sometimes when we read these things, it seems like I don't want to come across as if the Most High is just he's waiting at the bit or whatever, trying to figure out a way how to destroy us. That's not what the message I'm conveying. I'm trying to get us to understand that we have to look at Yah in a different way. And the way we look at him, it has to be with this great reverence. Okay. So I don't want the women to get upset when the Most High says that I have your father there to protect you, because you're going to say some stuff. And if it's not examined, okay, then it's possible that you may not be able to perform it. And then if you don't perform it, I'm going to be angry. And then if I'm angry, then I'm going to destroy you. That's why I'm going to destroy the works that you've done because you weren't able, you just were talking. Okay. And that doesn't mean that anyone didn't have any intention to keep it. It means that sometimes it's about the ability. It's not necessarily that one may not have the desire to do something, but the question is whether or not you and I possess the ability, or do we have the resources to follow through on what we're talking about? I mean, there's a lot of things that I would like to do for the Most High, and it sounds wonderful. I wanted to build a nice center and all that. And I said, well, I don't have the $5 to $10 million. I don't have that money. So how am I going to talk about something I don't have? And then am I going to negotiate and say, well, if you give this to me, then I'm going to do this? No, you have to be able to have, number one, you're going to have to be able to perform what you say you're going to do. Okay. So when I was in a real estate game, okay, and I still have that mindset, there's a couple of things that you want to look at when someone's saying something. Okay. And this is something that we all can learn. Okay. I'm going to use it. I was taught it and I'm going to use it. What does this say? What's this word? Can somebody read?
Saw.
It's saw. Okay. We'll put some little dots right here. This is something you're going to leave tonight with. Okay. When someone tells you something, right? Like, for example, say they want to get a loan from you, they want to borrow something from you, right? There's three things that you need to look at. And this is what I would call the rule that you need to look at. All right. Because remember, the Most High is not, he's not, look, what I want to tell you, Yah gives us freedom to rule. Okay. When they talk about the rules, I'm giving you rules because you're being ruled, but you also got to learn how to rule and you got to know how to govern. Okay. So our actions and our words are going to have to be governed. Okay. So this word saw is what you should be looking at. Okay. The first one is called to be, what's this pen word? Stability. You want to look and see if you have stability or if the person has stability. Okay. The next thing is ability. And the next one is willingness. And this is in anything. This is in a loan. This is with finance. This is with buying a house. This is with buying a car. This is with going to a business agreement. This is a matter of relationships. This is marriage. This is friendship. This is everything. You see? Anything that has to do with a relationship, anything that has to do with an interaction and making a connection, you got to make sure that the other party has these three things. They have to be stable. They have to have stability. Is this person stable? Are they mentally stable? Are they economically stable? Are they financially stable? What is it? Emotionally stable? Do they have the ability to accomplish or achieve the things in which they said they're going to do? And third, are they willing to do it? Do they have the willingness to do it? You see? And there's other words that go along with ability like responsibility. Okay. So those are the three things that I would give to you as in my life experience that I've seen that works across the board. Stability, ability, and willingness. And so the acronym there is for you SAW. So, you can look at that. And so what I'm saying is the Most High is letting us know, like, okay, before you approach me and you open your mouth, you want to make sure that you have, are you stable enough to do this? And do you have the ability or do you have the means to be able to do it? And guess what? If one of these things are missing, say, for example, that's the part of the rule too. Say that you have ability, stability, and I have willingness. I'm really willing to do it. Don't do the deal. All three have to be there in order for this to work. Okay, so stability and ability. So what it is because this is what the Most High is holding us to. He's saying, look, you might have the willingness, and a lot of people do. Everybody has they're willing to do something when they want to get something, or, you know what I mean? People get excited, they get inspired, they say things that, you know, they get juiced up about what they're going to do and everything. They might have the willingness. Somebody want to go into business with you. They might sound super excited and I got the best plan and I'm willing to do anything. But that's not enough. Willingness is not enough, people. Bottom line is, do you possess the ability to do what you're saying you're going to do? Do you have the education? Do you have the means? Do you have the physical aptitude, the mental aptitude? Do you have that? You know, the stability, are you, you know, from place to place? Are you, what is it? See, so these are the elements of one making a promise. Okay. Verse number 6. And if indeed, so it moves from a father to a husband. And if indeed she takes a husband, right? It's an infinitive absolute, meaning it could happen. She takes a husband and her vows while under, right? And her vows while under her husband, or a rash utterance from her lips, her, you know, the safathayim or the safatha, which she should bound her soul, going back to the soul. And washama, he hears this husband on the day, and that he hears it and he makes no response, just like the father did to her, then she'll stand her vows and the agreements, the things that she bound herself with. Okay. And what it is not just one vow, it's everything that goes along with the agreement. So when it talks about this 632, Ron, we'll click on it right here, it's called the agreements, but it's really to bind you. Okay. See that? That's a bond, and that's binding. So what goes with it is not just you saying, I'm going to put one tie on me. I'm going to tie myself up to one thing. There's more when you tie this. Come on, internet. That's what it is. It ain't the pen. It's the internet. So when she ties herself to something, she's not just tying one little rope against her. There's more than one. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's being tied. That's why it's in the plurality, because it's not going to be one thing. It's going to be multiple things. In order to accomplish something, the Most High is letting us know, when you say something, it takes more than just one thing. That's what I just showed you and saw. It just takes more than stability. It takes more than just ability. It takes a lot of different things. And you got to have those things, especially if you're talking to the Most High. Because now what's at stake, everyone, listen to me very carefully. What's at stake is the soul. That's what's at stake. It's her nafsha, right? It's the soul of her, just like the soul of a man. That's what's at stake. He says, but if on the day that he hears in verse number 8, her husband, he shall overrule. So the husband is doing exactly the same thing that the father is doing, right? So what this is that we see that when she goes from her father's house to her husband's house, it should be the same. And this is given to the tribes. Remember, that's who Moshe's talking to, the tribes. He's talking to the leaders of the tribes and letting them know, I'm letting you guys know, because what you're embarking upon is if you open your mouth and you say something, whether you're a male or a female, there's going to be consequences. For the women, it'd be being forgiven and all that. But guess what? For the man, he doesn't get that liberty. Okay. So the soul is at stake for all of us, not just for her. Okay. So she's transitioning out of her father's house directly into her husband's house. So the relationship dynamic has changed in a sense that now I've graduated from the leadership of my father. I should know the rules. I should know that my husband, he's pretty much going to be like my father, but now we're on a different level, a different relationship. So, but the same respect that I had to give to my father is the same respect I had to give to my husband now. So if my father said that, hey, what you said it's not good. And it's not like I'm just going to shoot it down. It may just be something that would affect him as well. Like, hey, you might be bringing this upon us. And no father No loving father, no loving husband want to see their wife or their daughter suffer. We don't want anything to be put upon our wives and our daughters that they're not able to do. They might be excited about doing something, but we have to be there to monitor and examine it, right? But this also should not be used as a weapon against the wife. And what it is, if you notice, he says if he didn't say anything, that means he's in agreement with it. Because the bottom line is this: when a wife makes a decision, I want all of you women to hear me and all you men. When the wife makes a decision, her decision is going to affect that whole entire household. That man is going to be affected by it. Just like when the man decides that he doesn't want to do what the Most High said, you're dead. That's what it is. Nadab and Aviram, right? Dathan and Aviram, they walked out to the front of their tents with their wives and their little ones. Their little ones didn't do anything. Everybody was living there. All their animals and all their belongings, possessions, all of it was swallowed up down into the earth because of those men and because of their leadership. So Yah's putting safety mechanisms in place. Now, as the children of Israel, we have a responsibility to fall in line with what the Most High said. Well, Akika, I'm in the exile right now. I can't do this. And you have disdain for the words of the Most High, and you're going to be dealt with. And that's just what it is. You can maintain that brazen look and say that you're going to be obstinate, you're going to be stubborn, and you don't want to fall in line with what the Most High said because you don't think that your husband is worthy, or you don't think that your wife is worthy of her making decisions because you don't trust her. So it's best that nobody in that house says anything about making promises, especially if they can't be kept. Okay. Now we say that the Most High said that in her vow, and she took and she uttered it with her lips, because that's how everything is going to happen by the words that comes out of her mouth. She shall bind her soul, and Yahweh will forgive her if her husband does the same thing that the father has done, that he steps in and says no. Okay, now listen to this, verse number 9. We'll close with this. And he says, and vowed a widow or divorced woman. Here's the cold part. This is the coldest part I've ever seen. A widow or a divorced woman, any by which who has bound upon herself her soul, shall stand against her. Whatever a divorced woman or a widow, you're bound. So now you're going into the position of like you're the man, right? So now we see this equality, right? So we see that the woman who doesn't have a man, the Most High considers you to be like by yourself. You're still a woman. And now you're going to be held responsible because you don't have that protection. So in these ideas that we're seeing tonight, everyone, the husband is the protection of the wife. The moment that the widow loses her husband, right, she's lost the strength of the house. She lost that pole. She's lost the one who to protect her. So now she's bound by every word that she speaks to the Most High. And the divorced woman, she doesn't have that protection. So we see again that the husband and the father are protective. They're supposed to protect the woman from her saying anything. Okay. So in advisement, someone who doesn't have a man over them, they're going to be treated like a man. And this is, I think, too, why divorced women and widow women get a hard time. And you see, Yah has a soft spot for widows. He does. Because they don't have that protection. They don't have that veil over them anymore. They don't have anybody to stand up for them. They don't have anybody to there to help guide them and to counsel. And so when they're by themselves, the Most High says, well, I look out for you now, but because the widow's relationship is directly connected to the Most High now, she even herself has to be careful about the things that she promises to the Most High, or anything that she promises that comes out of her mouth. Okay, verse number 10. It says, and if in the house of her husband, she vowed or bound by the agreement upon her soul with an oath and hurted her husband. Okay, I think this is talking about just a woman who's in a house, and she vowed and bound an agreement upon her soul with an oath and hurt her husband and makes no response to her. Not did he overrule her, or then shall stand all the vows of every agreement in which she had bound her soul. Okay. And it says, but if truly made them void, them, meaning the vows, her husband on the day that he heard him, then whatever proceeded from her lips concerning her vows or her agreements to which she tied herself to her soul, not shall it stand. Her husband has made them void, and Yahweh will forgive her. And we're going to stop right there. Yeah. Okay. So hopefully you were able to see how the Most High sees it. It's all about protection, because sometimes we can say some stuff. So women, you guys have to be careful, and men, you definitely better be careful. Okay. And also too, it's not just to Yahweh, but it's for what we say to one another, because we're the people of praise. Because our King says, since you're my people, you can't just say stuff and not do it. There has to be a follow through. Any questions, contributions, remarks?